I am already reading your comments. Yes, everyone has an opinion because everywhere you look, all anyone is talking about is former President Trump's arrest yesterday. It's still crazy to say that statement out loud. Now, Trump pleaded not guilty to the 34 felony counts against him in a New York courtroom. All the charges relate to falsifying business records. After his arrest, he returned to Mar-a-Lago, where he gave a pretty fiery speech attacking both the prosecutor and the judge on the case. So what are the 34 felony charges against Trump, and what does it all mean? We all are curious. So to help us answer all of this, we're going straight to the source with a New York public defender and former candidate for Manhattan DA. You may also recognize her from both Survivor and The Amazing Race. Please welcome back to the show, Attorney Eliza Orlins. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, so happy to be here with you guys.
Well, we're so happy to have you back. So let's get to it, because I have the indictment and the statement of facts outlining the 34 felonies right here. But help us regular people understand, what are these charges against Trump, and can you explain them in layman's terms?
Sure, I'll try. So the 34 counts are all falsifying business records in the first degree. These are nonviolent felonies, which are the lowest level felony charge that one can have. And each one of them stems from a different incident, even if it's from the same overarching conduct, from, either checks that were cut or money that was paid out, or falsifying business records to cover up or conceal a crime. And so we don't know necessarily what those underlying crimes are, but it stems from the Stormy Daniels payments, the Karen McDougal, and the doorman. So 3 separate instances that make up the 34 counts.
So Eliza, real quickly, help me understand this, because I was kind of confused yesterday watching all this go down, and thank you for being here. So if he's you said 3 different charges, even though I thought there were 34 separate ones. If they kind of find one false, does that knock off a third of the charges if they don't have enough to bring that? Is it kind of work like that, or am I misreading the whole thing?
So not necessarily. Let's say a jury that hears this eventually hears testimony from Karen McDougal, from Stormy Daniels, from this doorman. If the jury, let's say, were to find Stormy Daniels not to be a credible witness and not believe anything she said, then the charges that were related to her and her testimony, he might be found not guilty of, but he could still be found guilty in all the other charges. Okay. So maybe it would be a third. I'm not sure if that's the exact breakdown, though.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like maybe it won't even go to court on those charges. But yeah, we have a lot more questions. Go ahead.
No, Jeff, I think a lot of people feel like, Jeff, where, they hear you say, Eliza, lowest level felony possible, and people on the right and the left are like, is this a weak case? Because it kind of sounds like there's nothing to really grab a hold of there.
Well, Trump has evaded any accountability for so many crimes that he's accused of throughout decades. And Alvin Bragg took office and essentially didn't go forward on some charges that I think that they were considering in that office. But the fact that he took 18 months to really lay out and carefully build this case to get this 34 count indictment seems that he truly believes these are the counts, these are the charges that he can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I think he really does believe that he has a strong case here. Again, none of the evidence has come forward yet, so it remains to be seen.
And quickly, why do you think Bragg thinks this is a strong case as opposed to the other people who passed on this and didn't try to indict Trump? Because there wasn't enough evidence, so to speak.
Well, I think that there are people who have been really afraid to take on Donald Trump. I mean, as you can see, he has taken to attacking Alvin Bragg, Alvin Bragg's wife. He's taken to attacking the judge. His son posted a photograph of the judge's daughter online. So, this is hardly an easy task to take on. So I think a lot of people have been intimidated to do so, but Alvin Bragg clearly is not.
All right. So speaking of the judge, I hear you know him and you tried cases in front of him before. So I'm curious, why do you think this judge chose to not impose a gag order on Trump?
I appeared in front of Judge Merchan as recently as last week, and he is a very serious, very respected judge. And I think he understands just how severe a gag order is, just how much of an infringement on someone's First Amendment rights, especially a candidate for public office, for the highest office in the land, how major that would be. And so he said, I'm going to impose these certain restrictions. I'm going to say you can't incite civil unrest. You can't incite violence. You have to be careful about the things that you're saying. But he's not imposing a full gag order because I think he understands just how serious that would be.
Speaking of all that, at last night's speech in Mar-a-Lago, Trump did attack both the DA and the judge yet again. So if he continues to do this, do you think the judge will change his mind and then impose a gag order? Or do you think the judge is very firm and not even going there?
Well, I think that he probably won't call it a gag order because a gag order means truly a gag. You're completely barred from giving any information speaking publicly about the case. But unfortunately, Trump immediately disobeyed the judge's instructions. He got arraigned at 2:30 in the afternoon, and by 8:30 p.m., he was already publicly assailing the judge and the DA and other witnesses. So I do think that the judge will have strong words for him and potentially warnings or even contempt.
I think there are a lot of elements here that aren't exactly par for the course, including Trump isn't due back in court until December. Is an 8-month span normal? And when do you expect the trial will actually start?
I expect that the trial won't be until about a year from now, but there are a lot of deadlines between now and that December 8th adjournment date. It is a huge thing. 8 months is an obscenely long time for a case to get adjourned, but there are deadlines. For example, the judge gave 65 days for the prosecution to get their discovery in, and then 4 months for the defense motions, August 8th, and then the prosecution's response in September, and then the adjournment date in December.
Interesting. I wish we could talk to you more, but I'm sure you'll be back on very shortly. Eliza, thank you so much for being here and answering all of our questions. DBL Nation, Eliza will be following this case and giving her updates on Instagram. You can follow along at Orlins. Thanks again, Eliza.
Thanks.
See you soon.